UFC welterweight champion Belal Muhammad has gone on a media tour post UFC 304 where he dominated Leon Edwards to become the new welterweight champion. And he has been putting on masterclass interview after masterclass interview, giving all the perfect answers. And we're going to take a look at a couple different interviews that he did in this video. Because one, he's one of the best trash talkers in the UFC by stating facts. Two, he absolutely eviscerated Colby Covington and humiliated Colby Covington on multiple occasions with facts. And on top of all that, there's a clip of Belal Muhammad circulating around about him talking about double champ status. And a lot of people have, sent this to me and say, look, Joe, he's ducking contenders already and he wants to move up for double champ status. And they're really not using any actual context. So we're going to take a look at that in this video as well and break it down because it's not as dramatic and crazy as people are making it out to be. So I want to start off right away because we have a lot to look at. We're going to look at 4 different interviews here. I'll link every single interview that I show you. I'll link it down in the description in case you want to go check it out for full context. This one I already kind of did a video on. I'll link that video also down in the description. But this is him. I wanted to show you this clip because later in one of the MMA fighting interviews he did, he absolutely bodied Colby Covington. But this was him the other day bodying Colby Covington during this MMA Junkie interview. I figured it was pertinent to show you because Belal, I'm telling you, he's just going for dudes' necks. Absolutely destroying him. I think he destroyed him a little bit worse in the MMA fighting interview, which we're going to take a look at later. But this was pretty bad as well, and this is all facts.
And, so what do you think of Colby Covington and his comments?
He's a joke, right? Like literally everything he says is a joke. What is he? It's 0-3 in title fights. All I needed was one time to do it. You'll never touch the gold. You'll never be who I am. And just keep talking, bro. Just keep that. You said keep that same energy when I see you, please. I beg you, let me see you. I beg.
I mean, how beautiful is that? You'll never be who I am. You'll never touch gold. And I pray I see you. I love it. I absolutely love it. Perfect. Belal Muhammad needed one opportunity to achieve Colby Covington's dream. The dream that Colby Covington was gifted opportunity after opportunity to attempt to achieve. He couldn't do it, and Belal did through hard work. He didn't need a handout. Through hard work, and he's just calling him out here.
I beg you, let me see you in public, because bro, unless he actually fights any of these other guys, he's not gonna get another shot. But I mean, I hope he goes on a good run, beats some of these contenders, and figures a way out to fight me in the cage. But I mean, all you gotta do is find me at a steakhouse, and we'll see if you keep that same energy.
Yeah, Belal, he'll call the police on you. He'll call the police on you. But I love it from Belal. This energy he has kept in every single interview that he's done since winning the title about a bunch of different people. He's been going back and forth with Kamaru Usman on Twitter. I'm not even going to bring that up in this video because we have too much to check out. But the next few interviews I'm going to show you, I have not featured in any videos. The one from MMA Junkie, I had featured in a previous video. This first clip from this interview is what got a lot of people up in arms. Not a lot of people, but to be honest, it's people being dishonest who are looking for a reason to now hate on Belal Muhammad even more now that he's the champion. So they're taking this clip and amplifying it and acting as if Belal Muhammad is ducking contenders without listening to the full context of the interview or anything else that he's really said. I've seen people post this around and say, Belal wants double champ status. Pfft. First off, that's not even actually what he said. I mean, that's partially what he said, but it's not actually the full context of what he said. And we're going to check it out. This is an interview with John Morgan he did on Grind City Media. Let's listen.
You could say Shavkat's next, but it's like, is he truly deserving to be next? Is Usman truly deserving to be next? Like, there's not really a clear number one contender if you're really thinking about it.
You know what's crazy? Belal Muhammad is 100% factually accurate here. We've all said, well, Shavkat's next, Shavkat's next, Shavkat's next. Shavkat has beaten Jeff Neal and then Wonderboy Thompson, the dead carcass of Wonderboy Thompson. Now, I believe Shavkat will be next. I want Shavkat to get the title shot. But there is no clear-cut number one contender. Right now, there's just kind of a bunch of guys vying for that spot. You got JDM, you got Gary, you got Shavkat. But there's not one that's really stood out above the rest, and that's what Belal Muhammad explains here.
When Leon won, I was the clear number contender. I beat this guy, this guy, this guy. He's like, all right, well, he beat Wonderboy, and I beat like 4 guys after Wonderboy. So it's like there's not really that guy where you're like, oh, he beat a number one contender. none of these guys beat a number one contender like I beat a number one contender. When I beat Luque, he was on a 7-fight winning streak. He was a number one contender. He weighed in as a backup. When I beat Gilbert Burns, he was on a 2-fight winning streak. He was a number one contender. He was right there. Sean Brady was 15-0 when I beat him. Like, all these guys had big wins, huge wins. But now, even still, but it tells me that I got like maybe 2 fights, and now I can start talking about, double champ status because I already beat all these guys in the top 10.
So let's listen to that one more time. Not the entire thing, but the last 10 seconds there about double champ status. Let's take a listen. Let's take a listen because a lot of people, this is where people got a lot of people up in arms here.
But now, even still, but it tells me that I got like maybe 2 fights, and now I can start talking about, double champ status because I already beat all these guys in the top 10.
So people are acting like this is so ludicrous to say. Well, first off, he's not saying, oh, I got to win 2 fights and I'm definitely going up. No, he says I got 2 fights and then I can start talking about it. I can start talking about double champ status because what's crazy is, and I talked about this, maybe the video I did the day after UFC 304 and my takeaways from 304 is Belal had to fight, scratch and claw his way to the top of the division just to get the title shot. And in effect, in a way, he's cleaned out half of the division on his way. Then he defeats Leon Edwards. Now if he defends against Shavkat Rakhmonov and then maybe like a JDM or Ian Machado Garry, there's still going to be, some guys waiting in the wings, but the resume is going to speak for itself. I said, look, 2 wins, and I think Belal's right in the GOAT conversation for welterweight because for some reason, and Belal recognizes this, which is crazy. He's one of the most self-aware fighters I've ever seen in the UFC in the way he articulates himself. But people don't give credit for good wins when they're not defending a title. So now that now that Belal has won the title, I feel like some people are starting to be like, you know what? Belal's resume and winning streak is really solid. But people didn't give him that credit before because they automatically just kind of, oh, he ain't beating Leon. But now if you look back and you look at the wins, I mean, Wonderboy Thompson's still in the top 10, I believe. Right now I'm not looking at the rankings right in front of me, but he's still in the rankings. Gilbert Burns is definitely still in the top 10. He just beat Leon. He beat Sean Brady, who's in the top 10. I mean, it's not like he's beat like washed up fighters. He beat guys who were still currently in the top 10. Colby famously doesn't have a single win in the top 15 of the welterweight division. Not a single win. To justify him getting a title shot against Leon Edwards, basically you had to get in a time machine and go back and say, well, he beat RDA in 2016 for an interim title. Belal's beaten a lot of these guys. So to say he can't win twice and then say, you know what, I'm going to win 1 or 2 more fights and then maybe I'll go up. Okay, fair enough. Acting like he's automatically saying, look, I'm just going to beat Shavkat and whoever else, and then I'm going to call for a double champ status. That's not what he's saying here at all. It's just completely disingenuous. And if you skip ahead just a few more seconds, you would know that. Because right here, where I just ended, I'm at 11:05. 11:05 of the interview. I'm going to skip ahead less than a minute to 11:58. 11:58, and let's listen to what he has to say here. Again, people didn't post this anywhere. People just post, 2 more fights and then double champ status. Listen to this.
So for me, it was always about proving that I'm the best to ever do it, and I want to be the best to ever do it. So like I'm chasing the GSP legacy. That's what I'm chasing. That's what my goal is to, like, when it's all said and done, my name's gonna be on the top of that book, and I want to be that guy that like fought everybody in my era. And I think this is the best era when you're talking about martial arts and fighting and guys that do it all. And I want to be the guy that did it all better than everybody else.
I want to fight everyone in my era. I want to catch up to GSP. I mean, we're going to touch on a little bit more of this in the MMA fighting interview here and a little bit in the TMZ interview here in a second. But, I mean, this is a minute later. He said, I want to fight everyone and anyone. He's been adamant multiple times. But the one time he mentions double champ status, people get up in arms and cry about it like Belal's trying to duck contenders. When Belal is the guy trying to fight anyone and everyone. And he's speaking facts. Shavkat is not the undeniable #1 contender. He's who I want to see fight for the belt next. He's probably the most deserving out of anyone right now, but there's not somebody that's clearly deserving. That's possible. Belal was clearly deserving to fight Leon. There's not somebody that has put together that winning streak and that resume similar to what a #1 contender should have. I know it doesn't matter in today's day and age, but that's what Belal is trying to say here. Now I want to check out one clip from this TMZ interview because this further stresses my point. And then the main portion of this video is actually going to be about the MMA fighting interview, because he talked about Leon, he talked about Usman a little bit. He absolutely destroyed Colby in that interview. And he also talked about like the next contenders. But here's Belal Muhammad again, talking about fighting anyone and everyone. He's not looking to duck any contenders and fight for double champ status right away.
So there's nobody out there that I'm looking at like, oh man, he's for sure certain for it. But either one of those two guys' names. But like I said, man, it doesn't matter to me. I'm ready to go against whoever the
By the way, he's talking about Shavkat and Usman right there. You know, and either of those two names.
Dana White and them pick for me, because I'm like, I want to be that champion that fought everybody, that champion that didn't sit back and, you know, come up with excuses of why I shouldn't fight this guy.
Exactly. He's not looking for excuses to duck up-and-coming contenders because he's scared that he matches up poorly with them, like a lot of guys do towards the top of the division. And quite frankly, I'm getting sick of it, which is why I'm so happy that Belal Muhammad is the welterweight champion. Belal Muhammad has made welterweight great again, and that is a fact. Now we're going to get into the MMA fighting interview, and we're going to take a look at a bunch of different clips here, because he talks about Leon and his coach, talks about his corner, trash talks a couple different guys, including Colby Covington. And this interview was just an absolute masterclass. But I want to highlight a clip from the very beginning, because after hearing this, we might have to get Belal Muhammad on the channel. Listen to this.
And that's why I'm like, you know, all these people want interviews now. I'm like, nah, I'm going to stick with my true ones, right? My day ones. The guys that always believed in me, that pushed for me, even when I was trying to get the title shot, right? There's not a lot of people out there that were having my back on that. So it's cool to see now that everybody's like, oh, man, maybe he is this good. He is a beast. Come on my show, man. You're a beast. I'm like, nah, I'm cool, man. I don't want to come on your show.
How long have I been advocating for Belal Muhammad to get his rightfully earned title shot? And the reason I was so frustrated about it was, this is a guy, whether you like his personality or his fighting style or whatever else, throw that all to the side. This is a guy that has worked hard to try to achieve his dreams. And the fact that some people were trying to deny him that was an absolute disgrace to the sport. So I'm glad that I advocated for him. I think a lot of fans are starting to finally turn around on Belal Muhammad when he's actually getting a little bit of exposure. But I just wanted to highlight this because this guy really did scratch and claw his way to the top of the division against everyone. Everyone was doubting him. Everyone was putting him down. Everyone was acting like he didn't deserve it. Leon was big timing him. He finally got his opportunity. Imagine how frustrating that is, to potentially know you're the best and not get the opportunity to prove it. So I'm glad Belal Muhammad's doing interviews with people who I guess treated him fairly and advocated for a meritocracy of a title shot system in the welterweight division. Maybe we need to get Belal on the show, because I've been number one literally for 2 years now, basically advocating for Belal Muhammad. Now, next clip, he's talking about Leon Edwards, talks about his coach. I just thought this was too perfect not to include. And again, I will link this full interview down in the description if you want to go check it out. One thing I will say, and I hate to say this, I don't really enjoy shitting on these guys who do the interviews. This was a good interview by Damon Martin. I must admit, he's got to fix the audio quality. He's too close to his microphone. The audio is kind of raspy and clipping, and it's just unfortunate. So I had to leave out basically all the questions in this interview and just put Belal's responses, which I usually do anyway. But nonetheless, I mean, it was hard to listen to the entire thing because I'm like, this audio quality is absolutely atrocious. So if he ever needs any tips on audio quality, he needs to hit me up. I'll be happy to help him fix those issues behind the scenes. But let's listen to him talk about Leon and proving himself against Leon.
I'm glad I was able to prove it, show these guys. And even with that first takedown, when I got it so easily, I wanted to be like, in that first round when I fought him, I didn't shoot once. I didn't even attempt any wrestling on my end. So I wanted to show you guys what would have happened in that first fight.
I wanted to highlight that because I told you guys, 16 seconds in is when Belal got his first takedown. I knew right then and there it was a wrap. I knew my prediction was spot on. I knew it was over. But I just have to highlight this because imagine how frustrating it is for Belal to do everything you need to do to earn a shot and then have people still say you don't deserve your shot. And then finally get it, and imagine the satisfaction of going out there and doing what you told everyone you would do that everyone said you couldn't do. And to keep referencing a fight where you took it on 3 weeks' notice and got poked in the eye and it only lasted like 6 minutes. So I just had to highlight this.
How would have happened? So that was my motivation the whole time, and to see his team and his coach talking all that trash and saying that, oh, we're going to outstrike him. He's a sniper. We're going to outbox him. His coach saying the dumbest stuff and then having to give that motivational speech that did absolutely nothing. And it got Leon mad and it caused turmoil on their corner. Well, me and my corner is just chilling, being calm, cool, and collected. it felt good, right? It felt like I told you so.
I mean, is this not amazing trash talk? It's all facts. To hear them in this corner giving him motivational speeches, that was happening. That was happening. Not only did Belal predict this, I knew this was going to happen. He broke Leon mentally. And in a second, he's going to get into all Leon and his coach's excuses, which I absolutely loved his kind of response to Leon and his corner's excuses. Listen to this.
And, you know, if he's your coach and you guys want to come up with excuses, be on the same page at least. Like both of you guys come up with the same excuse that, oh, it was a bad back. But when he's saying, oh, man, I was tired the whole week. And then his coach coming, oh, he had a bad back. Bro, you didn't say he had a bad back in the elevator when you guys were talking tough. You didn't say he had a bad back at the press conference when you said headshot dead.
This is perfect. I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. I know people are like, oh, you're glazing Belal. I am not kidding when I say every answer from Balal Muhammed post UFC 304, he has knocked it out of the park. We're talking 10 out of 10 answers. He's like, yeah, you were saying headshot dad. You were acting tough in the elevator. You weren't making excuses then. You know, he even mentions at some point, I think it's in one of the clips I'm going to show you, where he says, you talked about how I was bad, I wasn't good, I wasn't skilled enough, and now I dominated you. What now? What now? Which I mentioned before the fight. How bad is that a look on Leon to act like Belal is trash and act like you don't even want to fight him because he's trash, and then you lose to him? So what does that make you now based on your analysis? What does that make you now? This is a perfect answer from Belal, and that's not it. He goes into more and absolutely destroys Leon's excuses and his team's excuses.
Get out of here. Like, I expect excuses, but it's funny even now because, like, all the people from the locals from there won, right? Like, Aspinall dominated. Paddy Pimblett dominated. Mokaev won the fight. Like, so that, oh, man, I didn't get enough sleep schedule. When you had this Formula One sleeping coach that you hired, right? Like,
great call out from Belal. I'm beginning to think he's watching the videos. In the recent video I did, I called out where Leon was on the MMA Hour and said, yeah, I'm not worried about my sleep schedule. I hired this coach that's going to help me, some sleep coach that's going to help me. I mean, at the end of the day, you knew what time you were fighting. Set a damn alarm and wake up. There's people that get up at 4 a.m. every day and go to work. Okay? So I don't want to hear the excuses. And he calls out, rightfully so, well, what about Paddy Pimblett? What about Tom Aspinall? What about Muhammad Mokaev? They went out there and won. They didn't complain about their sleep schedules. They went out there. Tom Aspinall got a first-round KO. So perfect response from Belal Muhammad. Now, this next clip, he's asked about if he'll ever see Leon again. And I thought this was a perfect answer. And also later in the video, I forgot to mention this, he actually talks about Ian Machado Garry and gave a perfect response to that as well. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
Do it. And when you're looking at the lineup now, it's like I beat a lot of these guys in the top 10 already. So there's not a lot of guys that you're looking at like, oh, this is a clear number one contender. This guy's clear number one contender. So Leon could go out there and get one win. And if it's a huge win, there's a possibility that, he could get his name back in the mix. But it just all comes back mentally. I don't know if him and his coach are going to have a breakup party now.
Yeah. I mean, this is a perfect answer. Leon, he could just get a win. He was a former champion, get a win. He can get right back in the win column and get another shot. But is he going to be able to do it mentally? Because I mentally broke him. And he goes on more here.
Because they look pretty bad in the corner, right? There's a lot of turmoil there. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of blame and a lot of embarrassment coming from that team. And a lot of just embarrassment from himself, right? Like, that was your home soil. That crowd was there for you. That the fight was tailor-made for you. You were supposed to walk through me. You said it was going to be easy, and you got walked through. So now it's like, that's embarrassing. So he has to figure out what he wants to do with his life.
You guys don't know how satisfying it is to see a fighter acknowledge everything accurately and then point it out so perfectly in interviews. You said you were going to walk through me. You had every advantage, and now I walk through you. And you got turmoil in your camp now, and you're making all these excuses. It is perfect that Belal's picking up on all these little things. And not only is he picking up on them, he's pointing them out, because at the end of the day, half the battle is setting the narrative. So if you let Leon and his coach get out there and set all these narratives about, oh, well, he just wasn't himself, and he had a bad back, and he didn't sleep well. That's exactly why Belal picked him up and dumped him on his bald spot. If you let them set those narratives, sometimes they can trickle down and then everyone starts regurgitating them. Belal is getting out there and just head on confronting these narratives in an absolutely perfect way. Now, the next clip we're going to look at is, again, Belal just saying basically, I want to fight anyone and everyone. And I want to add names, and I want to be a GSP of the division. And this is the exact type of champion I've always dreamed of. This is the exact type of champion I love. A guy who wants to actually defend his belt. Listen to this.
But yeah, I want to get back in there. Like, I'm not the type to be like, oh, let me wait a year. Let me fight next year at the we'll see, maybe July next year or something like that. Like, these guys, I'm like,
do you know how satisfying this is to hear? I am so like he doesn't want to sit out for a year. He doesn't want to be inactive. He wants to fight the top guys. He wants to fight the boogeyman of the division in Shavkat. Nobody else is mentioned in Shavkat. Colby wouldn't even dare speak Shavkat's name until he thought Shavkat is now going to fight Belal. So now he wants to mention his name and act like, and he had to have that pulled out of him by submissive radio. It is so refreshing to hear a champion say, look, I want to be active. I'm not just going to sit around and do nothing. I'm not going to try to say, oh, well, this guy doesn't necessarily deserve it. I'm going to fight whoever the UFC wants me to fight. It is so refreshing to hear that from Belal Muhammad. He is knocking this interview out of the park. And in a second, he absolutely shits on Colby Covington multiple times.
no, I want to be active now. Now it's like building my legacy and just building my book of names, my book of to getting to that GSP book, right? Of all the guys that he's fought, all the guys that he beat. And then I want my resume to be right next to his at the end of the day.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. He wants to defend his belt. He wants to fight anyone and everyone. And he wants to be right up there with GSP. And I'm telling you, the resume is already very, very good. I know they weren't title defenses, but that's not everything. He was fighting top guy after top guy after top guy. And, you know, it was almost like the UFC was trying to keep him away from the belt. And every fight, fans were doubting him. Every single fight, fans were doubting him. And he went out there and finally won the title. And now he wants to pay it back to the division. He doesn't want to try to duck contenders, especially if they've earned a shot like he did. He wants to be a champion for the people, a champion of the fighters, and I love it. And us as fans should applaud it. And I know people are going to say, Joey, you're biased towards Belal. I kid you not. Obviously, Colby Covington would never say this, okay? He would never utter these words. He would be, if he was champion, he'd try to fight Dustin Poirier. He would try to fight Conor McGregor. He would try to fight someone else that I'm not going to name because Belal names him in a little bit, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. But even if Colby was talking like this after he won the belt, I would be applauding him. I would be making videos just like this. But he would never do that. Nobody in the division would ever do that. Belal Muhammad is the guy to do that. He is a champion of champions, and I absolutely love the way he is talking about, I want to be one of the greatest welterweights of all time. Next clip, he talks about Shavkat a little bit more, kind of what we were talking about earlier, or we were kind of looking at other clips earlier about how Shavkat's not really the true #1 contender. But he adds more context to it. Basically, I'll fight him. It doesn't matter. I don't care.
For myself, when you look at all the names I had to go through, even after beating Wonderboy, I still had to win 4 more fights to get there. And I had to take a short notice fight against Gilbert Burns. But, all right, well, you're going to just give it to him after beating the Wonderboy fight. So, like, yeah, I mean, if him and Usman fought, that would make the most sense. And the winner would for sure deserve it. But, like, when Leon won the title, there was a clear #1 contender. I was a clear #1 contender. And they still gave it to Colby. But when I won the title, there's not really like that clear #1 contender. Obviously, Shavkat makes the most sense just because he's undefeated. But when I look at the resume, it's not like he didn't have to go through what I had to go through to get it.
And that's facts. And that's facts. Nobody can dispute what he just said. That's literal facts. And that's what I love about his trash talk. He uses facts.
It's all up to the UFC now. Like, I think legacy-wise, like I said before, I think Usman has the biggest name for sure. But on 3 losses, it's hard to give him the title shot. So it all just depends if the UFC wants to make that fight or if they want to just let Shavkat get the next title shot straight away. For myself, it's like I'm going to be ready for either one of these guys. There's not a guy that I look at in the division where I'm like, man, that's a tough fight, or this is going to be a difficult fight. Let me shy away from this guy. There's nobody that I shy away from.
Do you not love to hear it? Like, there's not a guy that I look at as a difficult fight. There's not a guy that I'm going to shy away from. I'm going to fight all these guys. Whoever the UFC wants me to fight, I will fight, and I will defend my belt as a champion. I won't try to use interviews in a way to duck him, and I won't try to set up money fights for guys who don't deserve it. He's been talking about Usman a little bit, right? And I know some people will probably be like, well, why is he talking so much? Well, Usman's talking a lot about him, so Belal is going to respond, but also Usman's considered one of the GOATs at welterweight. He's right behind GSP. So, of course, Belal is going to want that name on his resume. And also, I know Kamaru Usman's on a 3-fight losing streak, right? But if you look at the 3 fights, Hamzat on short notice, up a weight class, you might as well throw that in the trash. if he would have won, great. I think Hamzat winning against Usman on short notice when he's supposed to fight Costa is a good win. But at the end of the day, you can't really acknowledge that for the welterweight division. Okay, that was up a weight class. You look at the loss to Leon Edwards, the second title fight against Leon Edwards. It was razor close. Leon Edwards cheated his way to a victory. First fight against Leon, he was dominating Leon, and he got fluke head kick KO'd in the 5th round. So even though Kamaru's on a 3-fight losing streak, he's not as far away from a title shot as it may seem. I actually think Kamaru Usman with one big win, one top 5 win, he's right in the title discussion again. And I think Usman has piped up so much recently because he knows he has an opportunity to fight Belal where he really didn't have that opportunity to fight Leon because they had already fought 3 times and he had lost twice to Leon Edwards. Next clip, and I love this clip. These next 2 clips are amazing, actually, because he really starts to let into Colby Covington. He's talking JDM at first, and then he uses that as a segue to shit on Colby Covington, and he's 100% accurate with his assessment of Colby.
But yeah, I'm hoping that injury gets cleared up soon and we get to see him fight somebody.
He's talking about JDM right there.
Maybe you give him like either Sean Brady if Sean Brady beats Gilbert, or Colby definitely won't fight him.
Facts. You think Colby's fighting anyone who isn't 40 years old on a losing streak? Absolutely not. Colby would never fight JDM. Never. He'll go on submissive radio. He'll talk about this guy. He'll talk about that guy. He's only fighting 40-year-olds on losing streaks. He doesn't have a current ranked win. Why is he even still in the top 10 rankings in the welterweight division? It just makes absolutely no sense. But Belal accurately points that out here.
But, somebody like in that range, if they do Shavkat against Kamaru, or even if Shavkat gets next and him against Kamaru, he's like a big name, but with the streak.
So there you go. Talks about JDM, talks about Shavkat, talks about Usman a little bit, but say, look, Colby would never take JDM, but I would love that fight. If he wins one more fight, I would love to fight JDM. Next clip is where next clip he starts talking about Ian Machado Garry, and then he gets into Colby Covington again here in a second, because he's actually, this is a great interview because he was asked about basically everybody in the welterweight division by Damon Martin. So good interview from Damon Martin. I just wish his audio was fixed a little bit. Listen to the way he talks about Ian Machado Garry, because when this question came up, I thought, is Belal going to regurgitate the similar talking points that a lot of people regurgitate just because maybe he doesn't know enough about Garry, or because he doesn't like Garry because maybe Garry rubs him the wrong way? Absolutely not. Perfect answer from Belal Muhammad.
Honestly, he knows how to win, right? He figures it out. And I think that's a big quality to have, for you just to understand how to win and fight a certain way for every fighter. Like Michael Page is like a hard puzzle to solve. So for him, he had to fight that fight a certain way. And
how long have I been saying that? MVP's very, very tricky. Very, very tricky. And Garry went out there and got a win, and people were acting like, oh, that's a horrible win by Garry, even though all those people were picking MVP to beat up Garry. Garry goes out there and wins, and now it's a shit win for Garry.
Just get it out there. And people don't understand how hard it is to stay undefeated and be undefeated in the UFC. And for him, he has a lot of pressure on himself. So I respect that.
Perfect response when asked about Ian Machado Garry. You don't realize how hard it is to win in the UFC and stay undefeated. And just to be able to go out there and devise a game plan to win, especially against a tricky guy like MVP. Because you know what? Belal recognizes that Ian Machado Garry's ready to fight anyone and everyone. And he respects that because that's the type of fighter that he is as well. And I'm starting to love some of this turnover in the welterweight division. I mean, think about the welterweight division right now. It's never been looking better. Because the welterweight division, I feel like, it's been stuck in neutral for since Kamaru lost the belt. But now you have Belal Muhammad, Shavkat Rakhmonov, JDM, Ian Machado Garry. Think about those 4 guys at the top of the division. They're talking about anyone and everyone, whenever, wherever. And I love it. And I love that we got a champion that had this mentality prior and then now wins the belt and he doesn't immediately change up. I absolutely love it. Now in this next clip, these next 2 clips, he really goes after, he absolutely destroys Colby Covington. Absolutely destroys Colby Covington. And it's all facts. Listen to this.
It's funny, right? Like, he's literally the biggest clown in the UFC. It's embarrassing to see how he's trying to grasp for any sort of attention and say.
It really is. Colby is not a pay-per-view draw. Colby's not even a free social media draw. His interviews with Submissive Radio aren't even getting as many views as my videos. Me, just some random guy making videos talking about MMA. Colby doesn't even draw that type of attention. and he's desperately trying to cling on anything for relevancy. And that's not it. That's not it. He's talking about the complete clown, Colby Covington, who's not even Donald Trump's favorite fighter. Habib Nurmagomedov is.
Anything, right? Let me catch him outside. Let's see. All right, bro, I wish I see you outside. Let's see what you would do. I've literally called him out since 2017 when I fought in Australia.
Which is facts, because Colby just ducks anyone and everyone. Colby ducked Shavkat, he ducked Khamzat Chimaev, he ducked Belal, he ducked Leon at one point in time. He ducks everyone because he only wants to fight matchups that are heavily geared towards his advantage. And that's it. And now he wants to talk a little bit about Belal because Belal has the belt now and he's hoping to talk his way into another undeserved title shot with his Dana White privilege.
Like, this guy's a coward, but that's what he does. Like, he shot away from that Ian Gary fight. He said it wasn't worth his time.
Man, it's hard not to like Belal Muhammad. Yeah, Colby shot away from that Ian Machado Garry fight. Colby Covington rented a boat, went out and recorded a 2-minute social media call out of Ian Machado Garry, all in a manipulative way to duck Ian Machado Garry because he was terrified. The thought of fighting Garry had Colby Covington shitting his britches. Had him shitting his britches. And look, I got a lot of flack for saying, look, from the very second he posted these videos, I'm like, look, Colby's ducking it. Well, did that fight happen? Now, what are we in August? We're in mid-August. Fight still hasn't happened. Because Colby Covington was shitting his britches and he'll never fight Garry. And needs to be removed from the rankings because he refuses to fight any top contenders. And Bilal's pointing it out here.
Like, if he would have won that fight, his name could have been right back in the mix. So now he looks dumb. He's a clown. And I don't think, like, I'm wondering what he's going to do next. Like, there's nobody really out there that I see him saying yes to. He's going to wait and hope that Tony Ferguson comes back and fights one more fight. And then he's going to win that fight and say, oh, man, see, I deserve to be in there. Look what I just did to Tony Ferguson.
This is so accurate. This is exactly what Colby wants. He's going to hope to try to get a win over basically a washed up name. Colby's going to try to fight one time against somebody who's washed up, damaged goods, easy stylistic matchup, 40 years old, losing streak. And then he's going to claim he's earned another title shot. 0-3. 0-3 is what Colby is in title shots. One of them egregiously undeserved. It's enough with the Colby Covington. Enough with him. Cast him to the side. I don't even think he beats anyone in the top 10 to be quite honest. I think he loses to Jeff Neal if he fought him. So I'm so happy that Bilal's pointing this out. Like, look, he could have fought Garry. You know, maybe beaten Garry. You know, that would have been his best shot. He's not beating Shavkat. I don't think he's beating Garry either. But if he would have beat Garry, he would have been right back in discussions because he already has Dana White privilege. And unfortunately, he didn't do that. And he looks like an absolute clown. An absolute clown. And he points out, look, he's going to try to beg for a Tony Ferguson fight or something along those lines. You know, maybe try to get a Conor McGregor fight or something along those lines. He's going to try to beat up like a Wonder Boy or an MVP who have horrible takedown defense. And then he's going to claim he's ready for another title shot. He's ready for his fourth opportunity. Give me that fourth opportunity. Fourth time's a charm, Dana. Please. Please. How often do I have to suck off Donald Trump, you know, to get another title shot? I need a fourth opportunity. That's basically what Colby Covington wants to do. So Belal absolutely destroying him here and goes on a little bit more about I think the question was, can Colby earn another title shot? Could he earn a shot, even though he's barely ever earned a shot in his entire life?
No, there's 0% chance. Like I said he sucked before the Leon Edwards fight, and he gifted him the title shot. He doesn't have there's nobody in the top 5 that he could beat. There's nobody in there that I could see him and say, oh man, all right, he beats him, that there's a chance. Like, I don't see him accepting any top 5 fights, and I definitely don't see him beating any top fighters if he gets that chance.
I don't see him accepting any top 5 fights, and he's not beating any of them. I mean, perfect answer. Because this is facts. I love trash talk. That's facts. He's not trying to manufacture or fabricate some kind of artificial bullshit trash talk. This is facts. He's not going to fight anyone in the top 5, and he's not going to beat anyone in the top 5, even if he does fight them. All facts from Belal Muhammad. And it's so funny because Belal Muhammad is everything Colby wanted to be. He wanted to be a champion. He wanted to go on some type of run. He wanted to be able to be at the top of the mountain and talk shit about all the other fighters. Belal now has earned that right through hard work, not opportunities given. And it's just so good to see him rub it in that clown Colby Covington's face. And I'm telling you right now, Belal Muhammad is already a bigger draw than Colby Covington. Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal is the A side. Did under 400,000 pay-per-view buys. I think Belal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov does more than that. So I believe Belal is already a bigger draw. He has a whole country behind him. He has a whole religion behind him. And I think some of the MMA fan base is starting to realize they were warped by the masses. You know, it was a appeal to popular opinion. Everyone was like, oh, Belal's boring. Belal's not good. And people were like, okay, I'm just going to go along with the mob mentality here. But they're realizing now that performance against Leon was an eye-opener. And then maybe they're paying attention a little more to what Belal says. You know, Belal was a laughing stock before the fight because he's like, I'm going to go out there and walk Leon down. I'm going to beat him up on the feet. I'm going to ragdoll him. I'm going to dump him on his bald spot. And everyone laughed. They're like, Belal's delusional. He doesn't have these skills. He went out there and proved it. So now I feel like he's turning some of the fan base around, and it's beautiful to watch. And if you're not turned around yet, if you're watching this video and you're this deep into the video, you need to turn around. You need to be a Belal Muhammad fan. We need to root for guys who want to prove that they're the best and not beg for opportunity after opportunity when they don't deserve it. I like to see guys go on runs. I like to see guys try to clean out their divisions, and that's exactly what Belal Muhammad's going to try to do. Now, 2 more clips we're going to take a look at. Right here, he's asked the question about, you know, you're not going to call for a double champ status until you actually start racking up some title defenses. And I just love this answer from Belal Muhammad.
Winner of Drakus in Israel right now.
Yeah, exactly. My boy Harasi was like, Bruto, call out Driscus. I'm like, bro, chill out. Like I got a lot of work to do here, right? There's a lot of guys with O's next to their name in my division that the world probably still thinks will beat me, that I'll still probably be an underdog for. So I go out there and I beat these guys, take their O from them. I think it just keeps cementing me as the best guy.
So the beginning, the end of that question was, you know, you're not going to be calling out the winner of Duplessis Adesanya. And he says, no, I still got some work to do. Because guess what? If he gets an opportunity at a second belt, you bet your ass Belal Muhammad wants to earn it. He wants to earn that opportunity. You're talking 4 or 5 title defenses. You know, Shavkat, JDM, Gary, whoever else makes their name in the meantime. Sean Brady, if there's potentially a rematch, a Leon Edwards trilogy, whatever it may be, he's going to earn his opportunity. And once he feels like he's earned that opportunity, he will be the first to say, give me that second opportunity for a belt. Or give me that opportunity for a second belt. I misspoke there. And I love that attitude. And then the last clip I want to look at is just more of the same. And we've heard this from Belal time and time again. I've already done 2 other videos discussing Belal Muhammad, looking at some clips from his post-fight. I linked all the Belal Muhammad videos. I'll link my full UFC 304 playlist down in the description. If you want to go check out any of those videos, you can check out that playlist. I would highly recommend it because Belal has already established this same thing over and over again, how he wants to fight anyone and everyone. And I love this. I love this from a champion.
Yeah, 100%. They always say you're not champion until you defend the belt once. And yeah, like there's a lot of guys in my division. I think this division has still got hungry guys in there, and all these names. I want them all on my my pedestal, right? I want them all on my resume, and I want to just keep building it and building it and building it. Where you look back at my career and you say, bro, he fought everyone. There was nobody that he did not fight in his division. There's not a welterweight out there. And a lot of these guys that I'm going to end up beating, these younger guys, are going to be guys that are going to be champions in the future, guys that are going to have their name up there with some of the best guys. So if I get them now, and when my career is all said and done, it's going to be like, dang, but he lost the bully. But he lost the bully. Bully's his one. That's what I want to be.
Guys, I can't fully articulate or express how refreshing this is to hear. That he just wants to fight anyone and everyone. And a lot of these guys that may be making their way up the ranks and maybe earn a title shot and he beats them may eventually become champions anyway because they're young. And he's willing to give them the opportunity. He's not going to try to duck and dodge and worm his way out of a title defense that he's worried about losing, because he's not worried about losing. He's already had the deck stacked against him for so long. And it's just, it makes me so passionate about the sport again. Because I love this. This is what I want. I want the best versus the best. I don't care about personality. But Belal gets shit on for being cringe, and you know, people are saying he's uncharismatic. Belal's a great trash talker. I proved it in this video. I mean, it's undeniable. That's not even an opinion anymore. And he's proved that he's one of the best in the world. He's proved that he's the best welterweight right now on the planet. And he wants to continue to prove it over and over and over again against next guy, whether it be Shavkat, JDM, Gary, Leon, Usman, whoever it may be. He wants to prove it. And it's so refreshing to hear. I absolutely love it. And I'm happy that Belal won the welterweight title. And I'm also happy that I predicted Belal to win this belt. I told you guys the reason I wanted to see Belal get the title shot was not only because he deserved it, because he did, but also because I believed he was a nightmare matchup for Leon Edwards. And he went out there, he dominated Leon Edwards, dumped him on his bald spot, won the welterweight title, and now the media tour afterwards has been glorious to watch. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Make sure to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.